So let's talk a little about mindset. If you're saying that now, and we're still leading up to the competition.
Yeah.
So mindset. You realized that you needed a different mindset for this last show.
Yeah. And
you made changes and you kept with it and you trusted it. So tell me about how does that fit in normal life? Because you're still working.
Yeah.
I mean, luckily you're fortunate that your job is that your job allows you to do that. But I mean, there's still life to be lived. I mean, there's still. You're married. You have you have friends. You have tell me about that.
Well, like when you're prepping for a show and trying to keep yourself focused and having a life, like a normal life. I don't say normal, but you're still living your regular life outside of your competition. It's a challenge. It can be a challenge because. Besides trying to stay focused, it can be a lonely process because you're in your own world. I didn't have a training partner. I didn't have a physical training coach. I coached myself in the physical part. Mm-hmm. I just would communicate and meet with Mark on the side through phone, and that's it. Other than that, when you're in the gym and you're training and you're training for your being at the gym to get on stage, it's constant, just focus on yourself. I had to literally engulf myself. I don't want to say it's selfish, but you had to really engulf yourself because in yourself. Does that make sense?
Well, you have to prioritize yourself.
Yeah,
I think that's what makes it tough, especially if you. Well, in my opinion, that's what makes it tough. Is if you have a wife and a family. Yeah. To be able to say you sort of have to tune them out.
Yeah, you do.
And but they know what they're
just there. And my wife understands. She's been there for quite a few shows. Mm-hmm. This was different though because I was really taking the approach and treating this like it's my very last show. So I was I'd be at home studying myself from every show that I've done, and you're literally, it sounds ridiculous, but you're literally looking at pictures of yourself. You know what I mean? It's really, when you actually think about it, oh my God, Chris, it's all you. But that's what it is.
That's what it is.
You have to be how am I going to, I was looking at these pictures like it was somebody else. That's what I was doing. And that's how you keep yourself to compete.
Yeah. So does that, other than your wife, was that annoying to your friends?
No, because I wouldn't do that around my friends.
No.
And, there were times where I would choose not to go out and this and that. There were times where...
See, that's tough too, is the strength, I would call it, to say no.
Yeah.
No, I can't go. No,
one thing about my friends is they're very supportive. They've known me from doing shows over the years. Yeah. And so they respect when I say, hey, I won't be able to... oh yeah, that's cool. They know that I stay... focused on that. They understand that part. So I never really had the problem of friends being in the way of it was more me battling myself and staying on track and making that choice of being don't go or don't drink when you're out, because we would still go out for functions somebody's birthday. We would still go out. I would still have a life, but I wouldn't be social with them having a drink with them. It'd be hard. I wouldn't eat the food. I couldn't eat the food. I would have my Tupperwares in my car. You know what I mean? It was that, and it was just
your shrimp.
Yeah, my shrimp, and my friends would crack jokes oh, are you done eating asparagus and this and that. It's we'd be out, and they don't, they won't understand of how it is to compete. And so we would be out, and they're hey, do you want a shot? I'm no, I'm not drinking. You're not drinking? I'm no, because I got my show coming up. They're oh, that's right. He's yeah, don't drink, But those are the challenging days.
Well, that's great that you had that you didn't have anyone that pushed back or that.
No, I didn't really have that problem. Yeah, of somebody taking me away out of my element. It was just more me fighting myself of sticking to the plan, and it was hard. There were a couple of times where there were times where I cheated on my diet here and there, but it wasn't like absolutely, it wasn't bad. And then I would tell my coach, and like, you cheated on your diet? You don't look like you did. They're like, that's fine. But I would admit to him, I was like, dude, on a Sunday, this and that. But it was fine. And I didn't, it was only a handful of days that actually happened.
Oh, that's good. So that's, I don't know, like, as far as cheating goes, I mean, you knew that, okay, I'm going to indulge in this one thing, but it's gonna come at a price.
Yeah.
And you were willing to do that. So a big overall theme here really is motivation. I mean, there's motivation pretty much from the start of our conversation.
Right.
Having motivation. Well, at the start of the conversation, it was you had motivation, but not necessarily the direction of where to put your energy. Yeah. And then there was those experiences that you had that, hey, this is where I should be investing all of my energy. So that's awesome. Before this last competition, like, what were the things that happened that kept that motivation going? I mean, was the motivation to do better at the smaller shows just replaced by the motivation to do better at the Emerald Cup? Motivation is easy to get. It is extremely difficult to
maintain. Yeah. So there were times where you not gonna feel unmotivated, but you wouldn't feel confident. Like, am I really gonna be ready for this show? Am I really gonna be ready for this show? But I don't know, when you're in the car and you're telling yourself all the things that you've done, like, it's literally, you have to self-talk. There's a lot of times in the car where I would literally take the most unorthodox approaches to keep myself focused, and it, like, to listening to Ray Lewis while working out, you know what I mean, his voice, instead of listening to music, right? It was more of a different mental approach. There would be times in the car, you're exhausted from prepping food at night, and you just constantly tell yourself, like, you were second at Emerald Cup. There's no way that you can't beat that guy.
Right.
From, like, you're outdoing him already. It's almost like I'm talking to myself.
Sure.
And that's what I would do to keep it going, because it's important. Everyone has their own strategy of trying to keep themselves motivated, and it's easier said than done, but and it literally is. You have to do things to keep yourself motivated. It's not always about what you say. It's what you say and what you do, and how you act upon it, right? Days where you don't want to train, but you're like, you know what, and I'm on social media, and you get distracted, and all of a sudden you're like, Chris, you need to get up, you need to get to the gym, you have a task at hand. And there are times where I would take longer trips to different gyms and not go to the same gym I would train at, just to give myself a different environment. I don't know anybody,
because then you fall into those routine.
Yeah.
And then it's a routine then can become monotonous. And
then you get bored. It's the same people, and it's like, there's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes I like putting myself in a different environment where I don't know anybody. I'm not familiar with this gym, so it's something new, and it keeps me on my toes, and it just keeps me engaged.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I did that a couple times. We had taken a trip to California briefly, and I decided to go. My wife was there for work. And I decided to go with her. I said, I want to go. She's like, are you going to be able to stay on track with your training? I said, yeah. I was like, you know what I'm going to do? I was like, this is different now. I get to take a different approach. I get to be somewhere different. And I get to, make my food and prep my meals somewhere different, And so, and I get to train at a different gym, at another state. Like, it'll keep me engaged somewhere else.
Yeah.
And not be around, where I'm,
Well, sort of like shocking the system, sort of.
Yeah, and you kind of unplug, like, from where you're at. It's almost like taking a vacation. You unplug.
Right.
It's the same thing where you're training in a different spot. You can refocus again. Nobody knows who you are, right? And so it was cool. I actually was so focused in California, like, training there. You take a little bit more pride in where you've gone, where you've come. You know what I mean? And constantly telling yourself, dude, there are times where you're like, you're gonna get first. You're gonna get first. I'm telling you right now, just stick to this. It got to a point where it's weird, but you get emotional and you tell yourself, there are times where you're literally in tears, like close to tears, because when you're telling yourself that, there's so much passion coming from wanting to do that. Because this is just like you chose this goal to do the Emerald Cup again, and you're telling yourself you're only doing Emerald Cup so you can outdo yourself and get that first place trophy. And there's more to getting that trophy. I think there's a lot of life things setting them there for you. And if you see it that way, that's when you start to take, and that's when you look at doing the show in a different perspective. You know what I mean?
What I'm hearing is, I'm finding it really interesting, and it's basically an overall. It's already from what I know about you that you're a positive guy. Yeah. Like you're from when we've been around, optimistic. Yeah. Because I've had other conversations where the talking to yourself is the opposite. It isn't you're gonna win. It's don't lose. Don't looking at it from the other. Is looking at it from the other way. And I think I'm the other way. Mm-hmm. It's like whenever I have a goal that I want to do, I don't say you're gonna do it. I say, okay, if you don't do this, then you're gonna look like a big idiot. Yeah. That's an interesting thing, and I think that I'm gonna have to think about that even more, just personally myself. Yeah. Because is that why I don't succeed and accomplish goals that I set? Because I'm already bringing myself down, and it could even be that I'm already setting myself up to accept not. Yeah, because when you think about what you said to yourself, right? You just say, "Hey, if you don't do this, you're gonna look like this, or this is gonna happen." You're already giving the possibility of it going the other direction you don't want it to go. Yeah. Versus just saying, "This is what's gonna happen, and this is what you're gonna do, and that's what's gonna happen." That's a really interesting approach. Absolutely. Like, that's it. It's all envisioning something and just saying it's going to happen. And you just make it reality. If you think about it and you obsess yourself about it over and over and over and over and over, you're going to be so familiar with the idea of what it is you're trying to do that it's not going to sound like something where it's in the clouds or it's a possibility of it not happening. Sure. Where you're second guessing yourself. It's just going to happen naturally. Right. So would you say you've always had that? No, absolutely not. I really started to get into this just in the last couple of years of maybe really, actually, a lot of it happened in that 6 months prep when you really started to make sense as far as how you should motivate yourself and get things done. You know what I mean? Like, it really set in just recently. Like, okay. I mean, I've always been positive. So you've had to train your mindset. Absolutely. It is all about mindset. When it comes to bodybuilding and doing stuff like that, it's all about mindset. But when you really think about things in life, it's all about mindset. It's all on how you think. I've listened to this podcast, Adam Carolla. You may have mentioned it. And he's a very practical guy, very pragmatic guy. Right. And one of his big things is your wiring, like what you are wired to naturally do, just as a person. And then he talks about those people who aren't happy with what they're doing, but say, oh well, that's just the way I am. Yeah. He said, you can rewire yourself. Absolutely. And I hear that. I mean, I hear it every day. He says it almost every day, and it's only now really starting to make it, for me to process it, right? Because we are, like what you said, we're our own worst enemies. A lot of the time, all the time, every time. True. No, I was gonna say, well, I'm awesome a lot of the time. That's even better. That's even better. But you're right. So things that, if there was, if you had the choice of going to eat fast food versus going to the store and buying something, it's like my wiring, I'm just gonna go. Yeah. I'm just gonna go to fast food. So I mean, actually, it's really surprising that you said you weren't always that way, because I'm perceiving that to be such a normal thing for you, that you're just normally positive, normally optimistic. Yeah. And as we're talking here, It's just a matter of the fact of how you're explaining it. That this is how I give myself pep talks.
Yeah.
That since I'm the other way, I can do it as easily, except in a negative way versus a positive way. So maybe there is hope for those who may have a negative mindset, but work to rewire it.
We are all the same. Humans are all wired the same. I truly believe that, right? So wherever it is they're in life, they may not be happy. That's why they're always either negative towards themselves. They're just not happy with something in their life, right? So even if you say you'll do something, you'll say there's always a possibility of it not happening because you're not confident.
Yeah.
Right? And so it is, you want to make sure, there's a lot of things that happen around that to do things, just to make sure that that you're like in a good place. If you're not in a good place in life, it's going to be hard for you to stay motivated, just be positive, because you're always negative. There's a law of attraction too, right? They say if you're always positive, you're going to always attract positive. And it's just positive things. Like if something bad happens in the morning and you're just in a bad mood, why is the rest of your day just bad, right? It's because in a way you kind of choose to. You just put attention to all the negative things that are coming, like, oh man, my socks aren't the right pair or whatever. It's like the littlest things, right? But if you change your perspective and you just, like, it's okay, right? And there's more important things or whatever, then your thought process of being a positive person or getting things done in life will just be way different. It'll be easier. We make things complicated.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm sure we all have conversations with our friends who, like, I'm going to go here, but I have to do this. Like, they zig and zag so much.
Yeah, there's always going to be a but for everything, though.
Absolutely.
Right? There's always a detour to everything. But there's like a picture, right, that I like, where it says, that's your path in life, right? And it's like a windy road, though. But you can't see ahead.
Yeah.
It's just a bunch of trees, right? That's your life.
Right.
But you may take detours, but ultimately you're going the same direction all the time. You're still going.
So so one of when I wanted to have these conversations for the channel, I thought of you like super right away because I have 20 years to over 20 years of following bodybuilding and physique stuff, and just knowing that the guys that do that, it's 24/7 for 12 months. I mean, it's an all year thing. I mean, some of them do take like a couple months off of the seasons, but it is every day. It's like literally they have to monitor and be mindful about absolutely everything, and not just in food intake, but travel schedules. I mean, because of flying in planes, you get bloated. So they don't want to fly before an event, and all of that just is the epitome of discipline almost. Well, it is. It is, because you just have to look at everything at such a microscopic level, because it has ripple effects that would make it from second to 11th or vice versa. So that's why I had this here, and that's why I wanted you to come and have this conversation with me, because it's like, what keeps you going? But what keeps you going is, as it's simple, like what you just said, we make things complicated because we all, before I had this conversation, I put out on social media, I'm going to be talking to Chris, what are some questions? And the questions were, what keeps you motivated? Why does he work so hard? But it's not a complicated answer. It's like, you have a goal. You make a decision to do something. You can't talk about it forever. You have to put in the work to understand how to get there. Which is what the nutritionist did, and which is what trainers do in all. So that's why I wanted you to come and talk. And I think this pretty much, you just explained it perfectly, where you said we make things complicated. It's like anyone who is watching this and is thinking that they're going to get some magical piece of information that's going to be able to take them to whatever. It's never that. It's never that. It's always the simplest of answers. Which means stop talking, start working, stick to your plan, make a plan, and then you can reach your goals. And we just, our wiring can betray us, and our well cannot betray us. Our wiring can work against us.
Yeah, it can.
And if we're smart enough to understand that, then we should be smart enough to fix it. But
we're very smart people.
It's the hardest thing in the world.
It is, but at the end of the day, you can sit there and tell yourself how hard it is, or you can just sit there and say, I'm just going to do this. This is just going to happen, regardless. And you don't think about all the obstacles. You're just going through them, and then you're learning from all this too. And they say too, in anything in life, right? There's this formula: D minus A equals 0, and that's decision minus action is nothing. You can sit there and decide on something over and over and over. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. But if you just are just saying it, and you do nothing, no action involved to even contribute to that,
right?
Then you're getting nothing out of that. You get absolutely nothing.
No, absolutely.
It doesn't matter how much you talk about it if you don't do anything about this, right? I can sit there if I'm hungry and I want a burger or a pizza from home or whatever. I can sit there and think about, oh, I'm so hungry. But if I don't get up and I have all the stuff to make it, or a sandwich, and I'm craving this sandwich and I know I have everything in there, I can just sit there and think about it because I'm lazy, I'm on the TV. But I can just get up and make the sandwich.
Just do it.
And do it, and it's right in front of me, and there it is. That's what I was thinking about. This is what I envisioned, and now I'm going to satisfy this.
Right.
It's the same thing. You know what I mean? It's just on different scales, but you just got to change your perspective, And
I think perspective, and then ultimately decide if that's what you really want.
Just decide, yeah.
I mean, so this podcast that I listened to, Adam Carolla, he has this other thought of one of the sayings that he does not like is never give up on your dreams.
Yeah.
This mantra really annoys him because he says you should definitely give up on your dreams if there is if they're not realistic. So that's what he says. So, and the example that he gives is him.
Okay.
Where he dreamed from when he was in middle school to the end of high school was to be a pro football player.
Okay.
But because he had semi-success in high school football.
Right.
But he would say, when I was done with high school, I realized that no college gave me a scholarship.
Yeah.
So I was not good enough to play.
Right.
So then I had to find new dreams.
Yeah.
And come up with new goals.
Yeah.
Because just because you have a dream of doing this, that doesn't mean, and even if you invest everything into it, it doesn't mean that it's realistic.
Yeah.
So I think that goes back to, nowadays that sounds harsh. And I don't think there's not going to be one teacher or anyone who is going to tell a kid, give up on your dream.
Yeah.
But I mean, sort of. I think it's okay to say.
Yeah. Well, people evolve. You change as a person, right? You grow, and so like The Rock wanted to go to be a professional, and he wanted to go to the NFL, right?
He got hurt.
And he got hurt, and so his dream was crushed of him going.
Yeah.
But he found other things that he wanted to do and discovered more opportunity to other things. Yeah, and you start to see other opportunities and other things, and you take yourself to other places. And he got into wrestling, which got him to become this wrestling star. And now he's the biggest movie star today.
Producer.
You know what I mean? And what knows? And now he's become just not even just like this famous actor, and he's more of like an example to humans of how they should go about.
Sure.
And he's a very great mentor now. Like, he's a great motivator. Like, I've listened to a lot of his stuff that he said and the routes he's taken, and everyone has their own path of where they go. But as far as giving up on a dream, I don't say necessarily give up on a dream. Don't give up on trying to meet your goals.
Well, but aren't goals and dreams different?
Yeah, I never like to say dream.
I think it's like semantics. Actually.
Yeah, I used to say that too, but I try not to say dream anymore because dream sounds like such a fairy tale.
Right.
So like I say whatever it is you want to do in life, you can do it.
Sure.
So I'm big on nothing is impossible, you know. So yeah, I mean, there's being realistic, but what's realistic? Because sometimes the way you think that may be unrealistic to you, all of a sudden you made it real. You know, like I didn't think I'd ever be at Emerald Cup stage before, looking at all these guys at Emerald Cup, like, whoa, I don't think it's realistic for me to be in the top 5 or being contending with these guys that compete at national level.
If I had known you then, I would have told you were wrong.
Yeah, but you know, I didn't know that, right? So I guess it's your perspective on what's realistic to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's
real.
Where I've spun this around was, there may be some people out there that are just spinning their wheels, thinking that, but because they don't really want it. Like, do I really want to be 220 again? 220 pounds again? Like I say I do, but all of my actions are contrary to that. So is it really, or do I just want to, you know, be happy and not?
Well, I think the number one thing is you want to be happy, right? I think it's just make it a lifestyle, right? Instead of trying to shoot for, I need to be 220 or whatever it is. If you just make fitness and being a healthy, like being an active individual, I think that'll translate better, differently in your, you know, for you.
And actually, so on me and goals I have 5 suits in my closet that I don't even come close to fitting into. Right. It's like, I need to work, man, because I need to fit in those suits. Because it's I'm thinking in my head, man, if I could just, if I could just, but I hate those words. I say them, right? It's like, if I could just get tweak a few things. It's like I just need to tweak a few things.
You really want to fit in those suits?
I do.
Like it's like you really, right?
That's even possible.
Yeah,
because it was true. Yeah, it was true a year and a half ago. They actually did fit.
Yeah. So you want to try and be able to fit in those suits, right? So if that's what you want and you want it bad enough, you're gonna do what you can to get to that, right? So it all depends on how important it is to you, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. So these are where this is where the whole being honest with your, like, do I really want to fit into them, or do I just want to get new fat man suits?
I mean, I wouldn't say fat man, but
see, this is where I'm my own worst enemy. This is where I'm expressing this now, because this is what I'm thinking. It's like, if I don't reach it, if I don't reach this goal, if I don't do this, it's like,
what I would focus on is maybe focus not trying to fit in those suits. Just focus on being more active and designated time. Not everybody likes to work out, and don't make it feel like a chore. I mean, fitness, trying to add like having fitness in your life, some people has it as a chore, because not everyone likes to work out. Right? But if you get to a point where you enjoy this and it's your therapy, this is time that you're giving to yourself. You know, because most of the time throughout the day you're giving your time to other things, to other people, to your job, right? But when are you actually giving time to yourself, right? And so when you actually look at it, you know what? I'm spending time working on myself, getting in shape, and this is more of like a therapy for myself. This is my time. And you start to look at it that way, then you'll want to do that for yourself more often, and then you'll make the time to do that. And then down the road, all of a sudden, you know, it's not even about getting into the suits. Like, you're in shape and you can get into those suits.
It's just secondary.
But there's more to that, right? Yeah. So totally. Instead of looking at,
you know, actually, it's a much better way to think about it like that. Versus, I need to get rid of my diabetes.
Just become active. You know, being active doesn't necessarily mean going to the gym, or, you know, it could be going out for hikes. It could be.
There's 76 stairs next to us right here.
Well, there you go. That could be brutal.
That's very brutal.
That can be brutal. But if you enjoy working hard and doing that, then you can do that. Cycling with your wife, you know, just being active a part of your lifestyle.
Right.
And eating healthy. You don't necessarily mean. I don't necessarily mean like I need to be on a diet. Nobody likes to be on a freaking diet.
Right.
That word already, it has a negative kind of connotation to it, right? Like, oh, diet. It's so temporary. Diet is such a temporary thing, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna eat better more frequently, but I can still enjoy food. And I'm not binging. And obviously you don't want to go into fast food all the time, right?
Well, let me bring this up.
Yeah.
There's a guy that I follow on his whatever he posts. He's big on no sugar, no grain. Have you heard of this?
Well, I think sugar isn't good for you already, anyways, and grains is an interesting topic or an interesting like thing in nutrition that I'm like. I'm opposed to, or I'm starting to get a little bit opposed to, because I feel like there's certain things in human nutrition that were not technically made to digest.
Right.
Like dairy. I don't know. I'm starting to believe now, and you know, I don't drink milk as much. I mean, I obviously eat cheese here and there, but I don't think that humans are supposed to digest dairy like the way we do, like drinking milk.
So I went to, when I was a kid, so I'm talking 20 years ago, I went to the doctor with my dad. It was just his checkup.
Right.
And he had an Asian doctor.
Right.
And I think this is big because it's cultural, perhaps.
Right.
So he was asking my dad, like, what he eats. And he said, do you drink milk? And my dad's like, yeah, I drink milk. And he told my dad, adults should never drink milk. Milk are only for babies and old people. And old people is even debatable.
Yeah. Whole milk and wheat intake. You know, everybody should kind of figure out what works best for them, because there's no right or wrong way to do things when it comes to eating healthy. It's just eating all natural foods and just try to stay away from like processed sugars.
Well, the outside of the store is what they say.
Yeah.
Like,
If
stay
you
on
go
the
grocery store,
perimeter.
yes, and perimeter of the
The
house.
closer you get to the middle,
Everything's all processed. It's all boxed, processed, frozen foods. So the main thing is just eat all natural foods. Just keep it simple, and move more frequently.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just make it a part of your lifestyle. Don't make it a chore. You want to, you know.
Yeah, and it definitely goes back to like, what do you really want?
Yeah.
And then just figuring out for yourself.
Yeah.
Is it really what I want? If it's yes, then okay, there's certain steps that you need to take in order to get there.
Yeah.
And then identifying those. So take us back to a week before the show.
Week before the show.
Like you had mentioned that you were concerned about peaking too early. And so were you told, take a day off, eat a little bit more?
Pretty much didn't train for like 3 days prior to the show.
Oh,
because
wow.
I don't want you. He goes, I don't need, for you to put your body through any stress. Your body is where it's at. It is what it is. Now it's just a matter of pulling the water out and keeping you full, and not there's a term called overspilling.
Sure.
Of like your body. It's because timing is key when getting on stage. It's timing is everything, and when you when you eat certain foods before you get on stage is that's a whole nother aspect of getting yourself and peaking at the right time at the day of the show. So but yeah, I mean, it's basically just trying to pull as much water out days before the show, so that way you're as lean as absolutely possible. And I think there's a time.
And that's not cardio, pulling the water out?
Not necessarily. I mean, some guys sweat things out, but no. I mean, it was just
sauna?
peeing everything out. No, I didn't even use a sauna. It's
just drinking coffee.
Just flushing your body down. Yeah, I drank coffee early in the morning. I had what do you call it? Espresso shots.
Yeah.
That just it helps dry you out.
That's a diuretic.
It's natural diuretic, right? And then he actually had me the night before. He actually had me take 2 shots of alcohol.
Okay.
Because one, that helps dry you out in the morning.
Right. Alcohol is a diuretic.
It is, totally. And it helps relax you the night before. And I was buzzing after like that second shot. I was like,
with no food.
Yeah, no food.
Semi-dry. Well,
yeah,
dry.
I mean, you're drinking a bunch of water, but
that's
you
like
take those shots. Yeah,
the cheapest way to get drunk.
Yeah, some guy, bodybuilders. You'll ask them. They'll like drink wine at night. They'll even drink a little bit of wine during the show because it just makes them more vascular. You know, I didn't have to take that drastic measure because I wasn't in the bodybuilding category. I was in men's physique. But yeah, I mean, I just listened to my coach. I did everything. He knew. I was sending him a bunch of check-in pictures. And until the day of the show, I mean, I was just more anxiety of just, you know, just eating the food it was almost like I was a zombie and it's just clockwork, you know. But just anxious to get back on stage.
Sure.
You know, it's been so long. You know, this prep was 6 months out of my life, half a year, and it's like I remember looking 3 months ago. It's just like, oh, I still have three more months. You know what I mean? It just seems so long. But I finally made it to that day, and that's when I was just like, I'm finally here, you know. So, but yeah, there I was at that show, and
how many guys were in the show?
I had the biggest class. I don't want to say I had the most competitive class, but I feel like I did because there were more guys in my class.
Okay.
There's 5 classes, and as far as heights and men's physique, and I was class B, so I wasn't like very short. I was like one right above it. But my height is like more of the average male height. It was like 5'8" to 5'9", and man, there were 25 plus guys. You know, the class below maybe 12, maybe 15, right? And then as you get in the bigger classes, they were smaller. There were like 12 guys, and then the taller guys there were probably like 7, right? So I had like 25 plus guys. Close to that, I want to say. But going to the show, my thoughts going into the show wasn't like, okay, I was past like, okay, you need to make top 5. I was past that already. Yeah. I've done this. I'm too much of a veteran on this stage already. I know this stage so well. I've been on this, you know, environment already, being on that big stage at Emerald Cup, that it was just more of what I had my mindset. I need to win my class. I need to win my class. That was my main focus. And I remember just a prejudging, like just going in, and when they called us all out, it was like the longest time when they were deciding who the call outs were.
Yeah.
All of us are all lined up. There's 20 plus guys on the back line, and then it was like, there's even a video of my wife on live, and they're just like scrambling, and the judges are like sitting there because there's so many of us, and then they call out 6 guys, and for some reason they call out 6, and that's most likely the top 6,
right?
And so that's what they say. They start calling all these numbers out, and I was the last guy they called out, and the order of the numbering of, you know, as far as, you know, if you're last out of the 6 when they called you, it didn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just, they just chose the top 6 guys. So boom, immediately I get in the top 6. And I knew from there, I was like, okay, I got this. All I need to do, just give me the first call outs and I'm there. You know, boom, I posed my ass off, and then they kept me in the middle. I didn't know what was going on, but watching the video, they kept me in the middle the whole time. And then people were like, Chris, man, you got that in the bag. I just heard people.
Right.
So I felt good, right? I felt going in good. But it was a very good possibility I could have got second, you know. So guys were like, man, you know, I'm not sure. Some guys thought, I could hear them talking, the competitors were like, you know, I think I still got the top 5, but they weren't even in the first call outs.
Oh.
I would just.
Yeah, very rare do someone in the second call outs place in the top 6.
I had never seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but, you know, the night show comes around. My coach is like, you know, just be ready to be in the overall. That's what he said. You know, I think you got it. Just keep doing, you know, just stay in shape for the night show. And I got in, and I finally got first. You know, it took me 4 years to get that first place spot at Emerald Cup. Like, you know, it was a long time. And more than that, because I took 2 years off.
Right.
You know, and I was one of the older guys on stage. I was literally like one of the oldest guys on stage. Because, you know, you're going against a bunch of 20-year-olds, you know?
Yeah, there's a bunch of young kids.
So, you know, I had confidence that, you know, I'm the veteran. That's what that's you should tell yourself that, you know. Take pride in where you've come from and, you know, the time you put in. And, you know, there's a bunch of newer guys on here and, you know.
Did you know the top 5? Or is the guy second?
No, I didn't know any of the guys. I didn't know anybody on the list that I've never competed with. None of the guys, like the 2 guys that I got second to, both of them didn't compete. I think one of them went pro, actually. The guy who's beaten me the previous year. One of the other guy, he didn't compete, which I was hoping he would, to like solidify or just kind of go back at it again. But he didn't compete, so none of the guys I saw on the list I was familiar with. That was a completely whole another generation of guys, you know.
So that's even better, I think. That's
It helped me step my game up more because I knew that what I was going against. But again, I just kept looking towards myself, so I didn't pay attention to any of the names, even though I didn't recognize any names. You know, sometimes you're curious, but I didn't know any of the top 5 guys that were in my class. I don't think any of them were in the top 5 in the previous, you know. So, yeah, I mean, I totally went into this a different mindset. I was in a different position in my life as far as where I was in my career.
Right.
I was a lot further this time around, so I was in a better place mentally.
Yeah.
Just in general, where I was in life, you know. So.
Well, that allowed you to not take it easy, but to have stability. I guess stability is really important.
Yeah, I think I was just a better. I'm not a bad person, but I was just a person who's grown more from and a lot of other things coming into this competition. So, and then when I got that, it was more like, you know, competing is one thing and getting on stage and getting trophies, but I was seeing it more past that. It wasn't about me winning the trophy and getting that first place, and it was more the person that I was starting to become.
Right.
From there, because you're telling yourself you're going to do a certain thing, and then you make it happen, and it's like, what's next now? Now you're almost like you get yourself addicted to just constantly, you know, meet your goals. You know,
winning, too much winning.
Well, it's not winning, it's not winning trophies or anything, but like just saying you're going to do something, because it helped. Like, you know, I want to open up a studio, and that's my next venture. Right?
Well, let's talk about that. Yeah. So, I mean, I can just imagine how happy you were winning.
Yeah.
And, you know, your wife is like, okay, awesome. I mean, how proud she must have been, because she sees firsthand the sacrifices that you make.
Right.
Now, at home, do you have like a trophy wall?
You know, at first when you're competing, you have your trophies like next to you. And I have my trophies, but they're in boxes. I know I don't have it. I used to have it displayed. Like, I'm so proud of this.
It should be part of the tour.
I know. But, you know, I think this one was the one that meant the most. So that one I keep next to my bed. Okay. Right? I have like an inspiration corkboard over my bed.
Okay.
And I have certain things that has happened in my life that remind me that I have a purpose here. And that you're here to not only help people, but to inspire others. And these are the things that you've done that people see, you know, things that meant a lot to you, but like people see, you know, like just a lot of symbolic things. I've gotten letters from Nike, from Instagram, from all my stuff that I've posted on Instagram, and, you know, the personality that I've exuded as a trainer on Instagram. And, you know, they've sent me, you know, letters written from them, Nike training. Nice. So I have that above my thing. Like, look, I was able to get to that point where I've gotten the attention of these big companies, and so it validates whatever I'm doing. I'm doing the right thing for myself, right? And then I have that trophy in particular next to me.
How big is it?
It's pretty big. It's like,
is it a sword? Did you get a sword?
No, those are cool. I got a sword once. I got a sword at my second show. Yeah. I'm like, this is the coolest thing. I got a samurai sword.
A samurai sword?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's real. Like, I was like, is this thing real? And I pulled it out. I'm like, holy cow, it is real.
I've never seen them give a samurai sword.
Yeah, so watch you just say they give out swords.
Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, I was so excited because then they had I remember I was making a show, they had all the trophies displayed, out for them to give out. And I just saw a bunch of samurai swords. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. We get samurai swords. So, but we didn't get samurai swords at Emerald Cup. Emerald Cup, they give out a big trophy, and then you get like a big thing. It's sponsored by BSN. Mm. So you get a bunch of like supplements from them.
Okay.
Like a big tub, and I got this big water tub all-in-one shaker thing. Yeah, I don't know. It's not about what you get.
No,
I wasn't. That's cool, but it was literally like the person I became. Like I literally, when I got on stage, and then I got that trophy, I was like about to cry. Like I put my heart.
Right.
I don't think any of the guys that I competed against knows how much I put in. It meant so much to me.
Right.
So, and I treated it literally like it was my last show. And that was my last show. I don't know if I'll continue to compete again.
Well, if we
knocks on the door a little bit.
We hang out more.
Yeah.
I'm an instigator, man.
A lot of people instigate a lot, but
I'm an instigator. Although I will say that I don't stop at the instigating. The goal is to be helpful or to facilitate, not just to instigate.
Right. I mean, we'll see. It's knocked on the door a couple of times, being away for a couple of months, and then a lot of the guys that I've competed against, there's a couple of guys that went pro just recently, and then they're like messaging me like, "Dude, you're supposed to be out here with us." And I've never been on national stage. I've been qualified almost every year to go to nationals. I just never. And I never felt like I belonged there yet, because doing that Emerald Cup show, it lets me know that if I belong at the national stage.
Sure.
If I do well at Emerald Cup and I'm there, I'm getting like first. That's the closest to being on a national stage. I need to make sure that I belong up there. I mean, I have to do certain things to convince myself.
Sure.
That I belong at a national stage.
So that's another good thing that I'm hearing about you. Is you internalize a lot of this versus looking to the outside. Like it's not an external energy source that you're tapping into.
Right.
It's your own.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, I need to surround myself with positivity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I need to constantly surround myself around positive things or things that I have done, just to let me know, like, hey, like. There's so much you can do in life.
See, I would be maybe personality flaw. Take those trophies, put them right in your entryway, and then have people sign a guest book.
Oh no, none of that. No.
See, I think that's why God did not give me any special traits like this, because I would be an egomaniac.
Everybody has special traits.
Well,
everybody does.
If athletically, like if I were to be any sort of, if I could play a sport well, or if you
worked hard enough at something, you get good at it. If you worked hard enough for it. Some people are genetically gifted with a body type, or they're just naturally have athletic ability.
I would have to be a sumo wrestler.
Whatever it is, it's something though. It's something. It can be.
I would have people sign my sumo wrestling.
There you go. That might be something you might want to look into then. That they have to train their athletes.
Oh yeah. And there's not so big sumo wrestlers too.
Yeah, there's different weight classes.
Yeah, I don't think so. No, I don't think so. So you got the win, and obviously it helps you with. It could help you. I shouldn't say obviously, but you parlay that success into your business and building your brand and being able to. I mean, actually, it should be. I think every trainer should be able to tell their clients, "I can achieve this."
Yeah.
So, how has the win helped the business and the brand?
I mean, it always gives you big recognition as far as your accolades, you can say, right? As far as being a trainer. I don't ever want someone to train with me because I've won shows, right? I want them to train with me because they know I'm a good trainer.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to interrupt you again.
Yeah.
Your website doesn't have that updated.
What?
Your win.
Oh, yeah, I don't put it on there. Yeah. I mean, I talk about it briefly, but I don't put it on there. I don't make that... somebody had said, hey, you know, why you should start continue to compete, because it'll help your brand, right? And I told myself, I think I've done a lot of other things besides bodybuilding as a trainer in the fitness industry to give me enough credibility to not have to rely on, oh, I'm a competitor, you know what I mean? And I've won shows. I never wanted to rely on that. I wanted other things that I've done.
Is it relying though? I don't think it's enhancing.
Well, yeah, it enhances it, but there's some people who I can't speak for everybody as far as
this is what relying would be.
Yeah.
In my head, relying would be you gain 50 pounds but still point to the win.
Yeah, that would be relying. As far as like the things that I've done, right? I don't want people to look at me as just a competitor, somebody, right? There's a lot of things that I've done in the fitness industry, right? I've trained athletes, right? I've worked with professional athletes. Can I name drop? Oh man,
I won't put you on the spot that way.
Well, I've worked with professional athletes, and one pretty well-known one, but I won't name drop. But
if you follow him on Instagram, you might
you'll see it. Yeah. But there's other people. I've worked with actors. I've worked with actors it was for a play.
Okay.
Right, and that was a new gig that I've done. So I have a big spectrum of things that I've done as far as being a trainer, right? So yeah, I mean, I never wanted that to be my identity. And I want that to be something that I've done that I was good at, but there are other things that I'm good at too. And you know, some people when they become like an IFBB pro, they're like, okay, they put that on their Instagram, IFBB pro, and then boom, all of a sudden their following just jumps, or I just never wanted to have to rely. I didn't want my identity to be all bodybuilding. I loved what I got out of it, but there's a lot of other things that I want to do in the fitness industry, and I didn't want to completely advertise myself as a strictly bodybuilding trainer.
Well, I hear you, because that might push some people away.
It can,
like the people who would actually truly benefit from the type of training that you can do.
Absolutely. You know, I make it clear too when I my style of training is more like train like an athlete. That's my motto.
Sure.
Right? More like functional training movement, but strength training is still a big aspect from like the bodybuilding side of things, right? I do have that background, right? But I don't fully advertise myself as a bodybuilding trainer. Right.
Yeah, because I mean, I think still in everyday society, people look at body and they're like meatheads and
and that has its thing.
Yeah. Or this is another thing, and I hear this a lot. Is, and I've heard it, strangely enough, I've heard it from a lot of dudes. Yeah. But this is also a common female thing, where the girls will say, I don't want to lift because I don't want to get bulky.
Yeah.
Or guys say, I don't want to lift because I don't want to get big. And then my first thought is, do you have any idea how hard you have to train to get that bulky?
Absolutely.
It's like, you're not going to go to the gym for a week, lift for a little bit, and then the next week it's like, oh, I lifted too much, I'm too bulky.
Yeah.
It's like, that's such a misconception.
A totally misconception, and that's just them not knowing, right?
Yeah. So I can see how you not wanting to position yourself as a bodybuilding.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's definitely helped my following of being somebody who's won shows and competed, and it's gotten the attention of people, but it also has intimidated people. Like, oh my gosh, like your body and this and that. And so if you just do strictly hardcore.
I've heard that too, but for the completely opposite reasons.
So what do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean?
We were in Mexico a while ago, and although not anymore, but I used to be a big Mexican.
Yeah.
Like now, they're just huge.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
way bigger than me. So we were in Mexico. We're walking, and you know how they just have vendors that just want to sell you everything.
Right.
And this happened multiple times in various different ways of telling me. But we're walking, and there's this one guy who was selling T-shirts, and he was like, "Hey, my friend, come over here. I got a T-shirt." He says, "I have king size."
King size.
Which is, it's like, I heard king size, and I smiled, and Lori was just cracking up laughing. I've been called. Then there was this other one where it was king size, then super size, or just big size. Like they'll just say big size.
Oh yeah.
So that's pretty funny. But the king size is the best.
That's
one.
That's the good
king
one.
Size. Is the best one.
That's funny.
So yeah, so there's some people who are like, yeah, you're like, do you think they say you're too intense or?
Some people do. Some people have gotten that, but there's others that are more inspired and like, I want to look like you. You train me, I want to look like that, right? And that's good. You present the example, right? Yeah. But it doesn't totally dictate my actual style of training as far as like straight bodybuilding. I do strength training, but I do like a lot of functional stuff. Right. So, but yeah. I mean that, bodybuilding was just like a small portion of me in the fitness industry. It's something that I've done and it's still there, but there are a lot of other things that I want to do, and experience, and as far as my brand, and I'm working with boxers, professional boxers, and this and that, and doing like kind of fight strength training or strength and conditioning and stuff like that, and I enjoy that.
Yeah, boxing it's getting. Well, I don't want to say it's getting popular, but it is regaining its popularity.
Absolutely. And I early in my days of like working out, I always wanted to try different things.
Yeah.
And I got kind of bored lifting weights early on. I was lifting weights and I was putting on some mass. This is way before I became a trainer. Not really knowing much, just being in the gym. And then I just wanted to try something different. And my wife said, "Hey, let's go to a boxing gym." So we went to a boxing gym up north, and I got my ass whooped, trying to do it and sparring. I was like, man, this is something I want to get good at. This tapped into something I want to take on, and I respected the whole training aspect of how they train. And my dad's always been a big boxing fan, growing up watching boxing with him, and I naturally just made it. Now, granted, I never like competed amateur wise. I just trained. I've sparred with guys who were amateurs, but I never took that on because I took it on later in my 20s, right? I never took it as something I was going to take seriously and get into. But as a trainer, I said, when I became a trainer, I said, how am I going to set myself apart?
Right.
Being a trainer and not just be that cliche bodybuilding trainer, 24-hour fitness.
I see.
No disrespect to the trainers there, but I didn't want to be that. And so how am I going to set myself apart? Because to a certain extent, like, you sell yourself as a brand and who you are as a trainer. And I said, I'm going to teach what I've learned, from boxing. I'm going to teach clients how to box, and that's just going to be a small portion of how I train them.
Right. No,
I can make that.
Yeah, I mean, boxing workout. So the things that I've tried throughout the past 20 years. Well, I did the cycling. Did that for a while, and then I played capoeira for a while.
Oh, nice.
I think I did that for like 2 years.
Yeah.
And I was way smaller, and then the group sort of just fizzled, and I never picked it up again. But I did that for a while, and I'm not flexible, so otherwise it was just horrible. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and then the boxing thing I've always liked, and I've been doing that more consistently. And I tell my friends, I say, boxing workouts is probably one of the hardest workouts that I've ever. It's definitely one of the hardest workouts I've ever done.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Whoa, all you do is jump rope and do." The first thing I say is, "Okay, jump rope for a minute. Let me see if you can do that." Because I think that a lot of people would have trouble with that.
Yeah.
And then I say, okay, then on top of that, let's get you some gloves that weigh 1 pound.
Yeah.
And then just hit a bag for 3 minutes. It's like you're going to be exhausted. You cannot punch.
Yeah.
You cannot keep a rhythm and punch for 3 minutes. I mean, I'm saying this to people who haven't done this before.
Right.
It is super tough.
It is, and it can be. You can have the most elite athlete who doesn't box, but they're in the best shape, right? Yeah. And you have them box. They're
we definitely
from
saw
my
that.
experience. They will be drenched, and it's a different level of intensity,
right?
As far as the training aspect, and I mean, I've kind of made that my niche as far as my style of training when I actually train my clients. I'm considered the boxing guy at even at the gym I started at. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start, because I needed to set myself apart from other trainers.
So what? I'm sorry, I didn't even ask. What's your studio? What's your brand? What's your business name?
So right now my brand is Maximum Fit, and that's more of like it's my own personal training business that I do, because I do independent classes, and I do independent training one-on-one. I also do run like boot camp style classes, and my theme through Maximum Fit is train like an athlete. You do strength training exercises, and you do lift weights, but then you also do agility exercises, and it's just more attracting that style of training.
Right.
And I've kind of taken on a big example that learning from it is I worked with Nike. They're big on don't stop exercising, start training. That's their motto. And I loved how there's this commercial where it showed a guy, he's just on the old school bicycle, and he's got like a headband. It's like that cliche guy trying to work out, and it says stop exercising, and it pans out, and then all of a sudden these lights of like a field that at night shows all these people like jumping over hurdles, and they're like, and then it shows start training, and it's like that's how people should train. Like that's how people should.
Well, because that's sort of, I mean, you could have easily have put the person who's reading a book on the bike, or the people that are have the newspaper or magazine on the treadmill,
on the elliptical,
and
totally.
they're wondering why they're not
they're not changing,
progressing.
People should engage more and focus on what they're doing when they're training instead of putting your brain in something else. So I run Maximum Fit. This is an independent, my own independent company it's just me. And then I'm also, my next project that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to open up a boxing inspired fitness studio.
Okay.
Right. It doesn't sound like anything new, but it's actually a new thing where you create it in a boutique environment, and it's like closed lighting and dark. It's like a nightclub inside.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and you combine like strength training exercises. So you have like dumbbells, slam balls, maybe some battle ropes, and then you do intervals on aqua bags.
Okay.
So I like the aqua bags. Yeah, those are new. There's a reason why I'm choosing those, because it has a new appeal now.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not a real boxing gym. There's no ring. Nobody hits mitts with each other. You literally, it's like, I don't know if you ever heard of Soul Cycle, but and I'm spilling a lot on the business, but it's okay. It's equal to that. It's basically your niche is the boxing. You learn 6 punches on the bag, and I'm the instructor. I have I'm doing this because I have the headset. And you do combos on the bag, and then you do strength training exercises in between.
Well, I mean, all this is to keep people interested, change it up.
Yeah.
People aren't going to feel like they're going to do the exact same thing all the time.
It's just different. It's just something that has a niche. I've always wanted to start a studio where it doesn't have like a general fitness. I'm the X factor. I like to be different.
Yeah.
I've always been that guy, right? But yeah, it has its own niche, and you market it differently, and it's still me, because I've used boxing as like my niche. I'm not a boxing coach, but I've used it through my fitness strategies as a fitness trainer.
Right.
And it's done wonders for people. I've worked with people who have had MS. I've worked with elderly people, and it's great for them.
No, absolutely.
It's great, and it's a good way to keep them engaged and them wanting to get better at something, and it's fun for them. And who doesn't like to hit?
Yeah,
it's fun. It's a stress reliever. It's great.
They're getting benefits on a multi-level.
Absolutely, it's cardio. It's got everything. So, and it's fun. It's fun for me to teach that, in a more fitness environment, obviously. But it helps me get better as far as training style, and then working with professional boxers.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I understand that environment.
Right.
So, but yeah.
Well, I'll definitely link all of your information down below.
Absolutely. Maximum Fit, Chris Denina on Instagram.
We'll link all that down below. Is there anything that you would want to add? Anything more that you would want to have people know about you? I was super into. I think I focused a lot on just like the mental part of it, because that's what the questions that we got were geared towards that. But is there anything that you would want to?
It's not so much to know about me, but if everybody out there is listening to this, we talked a lot about a lot of stuff. If you have any goal set in mind, it's not unachievable. You just go and do it. It's as simple as that. You just go and do it. Now, it does take hard work, but that's just, you always want to think about the end phase. It always takes hard work to do anything. But that's, if you know that it's always going to take hard work, then it's fine. Like, you never think about the obstacles, just think about the end phase. And then once you start doing that, you just become this different person, and you start to actually grow. Like, that's what we should do as humans, is grow as individuals. There's more to it than certain things in life, like fitness. It's more on taking care of yourself, being a happy person, and just being mentally sharp, and keeping yourself motivated in everything that you do. I don't know what else to put that, but that's what it's all about.
Well, I mean, the adage of, if it were easy, everyone would do it.
Absolutely. If it was easy, yeah, of course.
Or Ronnie Coleman. And I didn't even tell you this story of I went to Ronnie Coleman's home gym a few times.
Yeah.
But one of his things is everyone want to be a bodybuilder, but no one want to lift weights.
No one wants to lift weights. He's absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And it's another thing is too. There's an interesting concept. Like, this is totally might be off subject, but it's just about getting things done, right? There was this thing I was listening to, and they're talking about vampires and how it's like a fantasy to live forever, right? Vampires are Dracula. They live forever, right? Like, they're technically dead, but they get to live forever, right? And so they're like, would you ever want to be a vampire and this and that, because you get to live forever? And a lot of people are like, heck yeah, I want to live forever. You're never gonna die, right? And another guy said, no, actually, I would want to be a mortal human being, because then your perspective on living is thrown out the door, because there won't be no sense of urgency to get things done.
You don't appreciate anything.
You won't appreciate anything. You're just going to be around forever. And so when you're only here for a certain amount of time, and it's literally a blink,
and you're done,
and then that's it, right? So do what you can while you're here, and affect others, help other people, because, and that's why some people are scared to die, because they haven't accomplished the things that they want to do in life, right?
Well, you have more regrets than...
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's all regret, right? So they say no regrets, but I'm sure everyone has certain regrets on things. But as long as you look at those things and learn from that, that's all it is, man. So...
Definitely. Well, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
And we'll have all this information linked down below. Hope you liked this video. If you did, hit a like, subscribe, and share it. I'm going to be having more guests in the next coming weeks. Going to have boxers, going to have promoter. A lot on the boxing side.
Cool,
have boxers, promoters,
love it,
matchmakers. But thank you guys, and we'll see you later.
Peace.